Today we're going to be turning this into this with a $60 airbrush. Let's get into it. Ever wonder what you can do with a budget airbrush? In this video, I'm testing out the Gaahleri ACE on the entry grade RX-78. I'll take you through the full process from painting to weathering to building a base to see if we can get pro results without breaking the bank. This video is brought to you by Gaahleri Airbrush. Use code PIXELLY at checkout for 10% off your order, or click the link in the description below. Alright, so let's take a minute to talk about the airbrush itself. Overall, I really like this brush. The atomization is great, and I found it slightly less prone to clogs than my Iwata Eclipse. It has a nice solid build and comes with a removable cap, which makes cleaning it easy, though to be honest, I don't usually need to remove the cap when cleaning. Alright, so starting off here is the snap build of the kit. I just wanted to show the kit in its raw form to fully illustrate the before and after, and as you can see, it does look really nice, lots of great color separation, but it's very minimal on the details, and that's something that we're definitely going to be addressing in this build. So to prepare for painting, we're going to sand all the nub marks down and place everything on alligator clips. For this build, I'm not using any putty. This is going to be a 100% putty-free build. There are some minor imperfections I could have used putty on, but I wanted to show how far we could push the build with the simplest tools possible. Alright, so full disclaimer, this is a no primer build. I've talked about not using primer in some of my other videos, but today we're going to be showing that process in action. So I always start my builds by painting the metallics because they're very forgiving. As always, I'm using Vallejo metal color paints. You definitely don't need primer to get good coverage with these. And here I used smoke exhaust for the dark colors and aluminum for the highlights. And you can see me putting on some highlights right here. And here is the final beam rifle before panel lining. And you can see that little gradient going on. And you can also see it on the backpack here, and I will repeat this for all of the metal parts in the build. Alright, next I will go in and do basic pre-shading on all of the whites using a medium dark gray. I'm just going to go over all the edges and corners, as well as any place I think might catch shadows, such as a hole or a piece that would sit underneath armor. This leg is a great example piece because I was able to add a lot of visual interest just by following the contours of the sculpt. And as you can see here, I've got all my white parts out, pre-shaded, and ready to go for the next step. Next up, we're going to be painting blues, and I'm going to be using purple for the pre-shading on the blues. Sometimes I use black, sometimes I like to experiment by using a different color that's darker than the main color. In this case, I'm going to be using purple for both the blue and red parts. This is pretty much the same process as all of the other colors. I'm just going to go along the edges and darken areas I think will catch shadow. And here I realized that I needed the shading to match across both of the torso parts, so I quickly stuck them together using blue tack and then repainted the shadows to dark purple to blend it all in. Next up we have the reds, pretty much the same process as the blues. We're going to use some dark purple here as well. I just wanted to showcase this shield part because I think it's a nice large part that clearly illustrates how I go about doing my shading. As you can see here, just filling in all of those areas of the cross that would catch shadow, as well as some of the other edge highlights on the shape of the part. And for the yellows, I'm going to mix up a rich brownish orange shade for the pre-shading. Doing shading on yellow is often really tough, but I found orange tends to work for me quite nicely. Using the same method here as the other colors, we're going to go around the edges of the piece in all areas we would want to cast shadows. And here you can see two pieces side by side, and you can see just how much visual interest a little bit of color adds to a simple flat piece. The vents and the collar were the most difficult because I was trying to do gradients in a very small area. What I did here was thin my paint a bit and lower the PSI on my compressor to make sure I could make very subtle adjustments to all of the gradients. Alright, next up is the main color. This is essentially the base coat that's going to go over all of your pre-shading and give the parts the bulk of their tones. Here I just went with a very basic red, blue, yellow, and off-white colors straight out of the bottle for the most part. You can see how very quickly the dramatic pre-shading is starting to look much more subtle, and that's exactly what we want here. And you can really see on this leg part as well just how much more subtle this pre-shading is going to become as we begin to layer over it with some off-white, just blending everything in nice and smooth. And that's pretty much it for the main colors. I'm going to go in now with some gloss coat varnish before I do all of my panel lining and weathering. This will protect the paint and let me create some nice streaking effects over the base coat with oil washes. If you were to have a matte finish at this point, it would be a lot more difficult to do your weathering, so I highly recommend doing a gloss coat after you finish your base colors. And here we have the clean kit with top coat on it, and honestly I think it looks really fantastic as is and doesn't even need weathering. That gloss coat really makes those colors look super saturated and pop, but while I love this look, I really love doing some subtle weathering, so we're going to go ahead and weather up this build and then finish it with a matte coat. Alright, so now we're on to weathering. I'm going to start out by using Mr. Weathering Oil Multi Black to do my basic panel lining. This is very similar to using Tamiya, but you need to wait a bit longer for it to dry, and it's also much less difficult to work with and remove, and just more forgiving overall. You just go ahead and dip your paintbrush in the bottle and dab it on in all the little creases, nooks, and crannies, just the same as using any other panel liner. And after panel lining, you can really see how much detail is added to the parts here. And the inside of the shield as well, it just really brings out all those nice little details. And here we've got the legs all panel lined up, as well as the head, and I've gone and just added a little stripe there on the V-fin using some decal sheets. And the torso, you can see I've already gone in here and done some decals as well. I like to do my decals before weathering, so that way the weathering layers on top of it rather than under it. This is going to give you a much more realistic look. And now I'm going to start going in with the browns and doing the actual weathering. I just dab a few dots on here and there with Mr. Weathering Oil, and then I blend and blur most of it away using Q-tips and brushes dipped in Mr. Weathering solvent. Here you can see the parts after blending in that brown, and it's really starting to create some beautiful, subtle little gradients all over the kit. I just love the tonal variety and visual interest this adds to my models. And after that first brown coat, I'm going to go in with a second shade of brown to add even more variety. This is the icing on the cake, and I highly recommend using multiple shades of browns for this step. Same process here, just dab on a few small spots and then go back in and remove the majority of it to create streaks along the way. As you see here, I keep moving my brush off camera. What I'm doing is constantly cleaning the brush off on a paper towel. You will get a lot of buildup of the weathering oil, so you're going to want to be constantly cleaning off your brush to get a subtle effect. And here I'm going to go in and just do a little bit of additional shading on the rest of the kit. And oh no, we have run into a little issue here. So what's happened is the weathering oil has seeped in through the paint and stained it. This is usually caused by not having enough top coat coverage on a given area to protect the part. No amount of thinner is going to remove it at this point, so what I'm going to do is disassemble the part very carefully and repaint the corner to blend everything in. It sounds scary, but it's not really a big deal, and it's one of the advantages of using a shading technique on your models. It's super easy to blend in new gradients and fix things when you need to. Alright, so now we're getting to chipping. You guys know I love old issues of Hobby Japan. I took inspiration from this issue that had 3 really nice painted and weathered perfect grade RX-78s by 3 different modelers. I then went and gathered up a bunch of supplies I had never used before based off of what I saw in the magazine because I wanted to experiment with trying something new on this build. I tried oil pastels, watercolor pastels, and weathering pencils by AK Interactive. I started out with trying the oil pastels on corners to give them an edge highlight, but I wasn't loving how it was looking, so I switched over to pencils pretty quickly. I started by using this artist watercolor pencil. My goal here was just to dot along the edges to create some very minor chipping effects. Nothing too crazy here. and I really liked how this was looking on all of the white parts. Then I also tried going in with the AK Dark Aluminum, but I wasn't as into how it looked, so I blended most of it in with a wet Q-tip, and then I went and repeated this process across all of the other parts on the model kit. And now on to the base. I wanted to go for an old school look with this one, so I got a nice block of dark wood from a local wood shop as my starting point. The first thing I did was cut a few rough pieces of foam with my hobby knife to start laying out the composition. This is all built on top of a thin piece of plot plate that I cut to size of the wooden block. Next, I used some Milliput to blend where the foam transitions to the base, and I also drew some lines where I wanted the model to stand for reference. I had some additional Milliput buildup on the edges, so I trimmed all of that off with my hobby saw. I also decided to do some additional contouring and shaping and sculpting with the hobby saw at this step. After I had everything cut to size, I wanted to try and create a footprint in mud effect, so I warmed up some Milliput in my hands and then thinly laid it out on the base. I added some extra water to make it extra soft and covered the model in plastic wrap and pressed it firmly into the Milliput to create an indentation. It's not perfect, but I think it'll be good enough since we're also going to be covering this with texture paint. After this, I just took a paint mixer, you can use any metal tool, and I just sort of blended in the soft Milliput into the rest of the build. I then went ahead and repeated this whole process on the other side for the other foot of the model. And after a good amount of work, I got it looking pretty smooth and ready for the next step. Now I'm going to go ahead and sand down the edges of the base flat so they better blend in with the wooden block. And after about 15 minutes of sanding, it's looking nice and flush. Then I went ahead and layered on a bunch of AK texture paint. I used the concrete version for this build. It's a bit finer than the rough terrain texture, and I prefer the look at this scale. Apologies for not filming this part. As you can see, I went ahead and once again pushed the model into the wet paint to really make sure the footprint effect is looking really good. And after it's all dry, I do a test fit and I think it's looking really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next step. So I decided to add some actual dirt with Mod Podge to further enhance the texture and try to add some realism. I'm not sure if it's gonna come across in the final build, but it's definitely fun to play around with. And after blasting it dry with a hairdryer, it is nice and dry and ready for painting at last. So I'm going to start by just going in with some black primer to even out the tone, and I'm focusing on all the areas I want to be darkest first. Starting with the shadows cast under the feet and then moving toward the center, this sort of little tiny kind of canyon area I've got going on, and yeah, just darkening all that up. As you can see, a little bit of dirt is flying off. That's not a big deal. Once it's all painted up, you're never going to be able to know, and it's all going to be sealed in with some top coat at the end as well. And then I switch over to brown and start layering that on top, and you can really see it starting to come together here at this stage. And to keep things moving quickly, I'm hitting it with a hairdryer between colors. Then I'm going to go back in with a lighter brown, and I'm going to skip around here at this part because I played around with 6 or 7 different shades of brown and gray and even like a greenish color. Basically, I was just trying to add variation to the terrain while emphasizing the raised areas with lighter highlights. I also went ahead and sprayed a gloss coat over everything to just give it a wet look and also kind of just lock everything in. And then I'm going to go in with some different shades of light tan for dry brushing, and I feel like you can see it really starting to come together at this stage. Yeah, I am just really loving that little mud effect I've got going on. It's a shame it's going to be all covered up. And while I think it looks great, it looks a little too glossy for my taste, so I'm going to go in with some matte varnish on all of the areas besides the footprints to just try and make everything look a bit more like dry soil. And here it's really starting to be just about finished. As a final little step, I'm going to go back in once more and hand brush some gloss coat inside the footprint areas to make that part specifically just look extra wet. And after all is said and done, this is what the final product is going to look like. And as a finishing touch, I decided to add some Mr. Weathering Oil Sandy Wash to the feet of the model to help blend it into the scene. This is pretty much the same as how I did it earlier in the video, though a bit higher risk because the model now has a matte coat on it, which makes it difficult to clean up the oil. And here it is, the final build. For a $10 kit and a $60 airbrush, I'm really happy with how this turned out. The shading, weathering, and little details all come together, and I think the diorama base adds a really nice final touch. This really just goes to show you don't need a ton of expensive tools to get solid results, just a little patience and some experimentation. So let me know what you think. Would you try something like this? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And just once more, big thanks to Gaahleri for sending over this airbrush. If you want to check it out, I'll have links in the description below. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There's a bunch of exclusive videos in my member section, and I put out one exclusive members video per month. The lowest tier starts at $2.99, and it gives you access to all of the videos. Also consider just coming out to hang out on Discord or other social media, and definitely hit that subscribe button as well, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!